Golf Central, brought to you by TaylorMade.
Framed by the May River and the Calabogie Sound, Harbour Town is going to welcome the best field ever in the world ranking era. The 2020 RBC Heritage Field, the top 6 in the official world golf rankings, first time since '86. 114 winners in the field who have won at least one event on the PGA Tour, and 27 major champions. Joining us now is Steve Wilmot, the president, tournament director of the Heritage Classic Foundation. Steve, usually it's the middle of April saying, boy, it's going to be a great week. It's the middle of June. Let's start with what you might have learned just simply by watching a golf tournament over the weekend, that being the Charles Schwab Challenge. Did you learn anything from that?
Absolutely. It's a little warmer this time of year than in April, but no, it's going to be a tough act to follow. Rob Hood and his team, Michael Toth at Colonial, did an outstanding job. And through the course of the week, we were communicating as well. And as you certainly, each week you learn from each other. And Nathan Groove next week up at Travelers is going to certainly learn from us as well. And we're tweaking things as we go along, and it's an exciting. We're glad to be a part of the process, and the guys are excited to be here, and we're certainly energized as well. And we're fortunate to be here as well. One thing, I learned is never to say never, and we're glad to be here to be in June.
Steve, just like you said, I know that your whole team, feel fortunate. You have a lot of gratitude. What has been the biggest challenge leading into this tournament week?
Well, you look at two different events that we had. One that was spectator sponsors, pro-am participants, and this one is without. And there's not a playbook or a game plan for everything surrounding everything that we're going through right now. And and the safety and well-being of everyone is of utmost importance. So that's what we're focused on right now, is certainly going through the testing process, the screening process, and the safety and security of all. So it's different from that standpoint, is the fact that we have no skyboxes, have no bleachers, have no concessions out there, no crowd pleasers, but it's true golf and great competition.
Steve, this positive coronavirus cases in South Carolina have spiked. There were 799 new cases reported Sunday. Have you taken extra steps to ensure all on the property are going to be safe and well this week, above and beyond what you've already done?
Absolutely. I mean, that's been the number one concern of the PGA Tour, our title sponsor in RBC, and as well as theirself in this community. Working with local and state officials, our governor, DHEC, as well as the local hospital, but then Andy Levison and his team down in Ponte Vedra, we are monitoring that. We're doing everything possible. And there's, as you've heard a lot about the bubble and outside the bubble. And we feel what we are able to control here within the bubble and the golf course proper, we've got a great handle on that. And we look, and we're up for certainly the challenge this week, knowing that it's certainly going to be, something that we're certainly sensitive to and keeping an eye on.
You mentioned the bubble. Part of it was the charter flights carrying the players and the caddies that landed in Savannah today. What was it like for you to go out there? You can't shake hands, which is a natural custom. What was that experience like for you today?
Well, it's the first time I've ever left the property or the island in 34 years of being with the tournament. And, we just felt it was a way to go over there and welcome them, working with our local airport, Savannah Hilton Head Airport, being the international airport that it is. And to see the guys come off the plane, I think there was a pleasant surprise. We had a water cannon salute for both planes that came in. The players came off a lot of air bumps and high fives from a social distance, but I think they really appreciated it. And they kept it a separate area in the airport that they were able to go, and they came over here. And actually, I've run into some guys now that I'm back down on site, and I said, "Didn't I just see you in Savannah?" So that worked out great.
Steve, last thing, the island is a small community, one of the great communities in America, but there are a lot of homes that dot the fairways there at Harbour Town Golf Links. Do you expect a fair number of backyard viewers who are going to be trying to watch golf, and what can you do to ensure to keep them in those yards throughout the week?
Well, we certainly have done everything that we can to keep them in their yards. It's their private property. Our golf course is private property, but we're certainly, encouraging social distancing and make sure that's the message. But we're so different than, Colonial, and, there is a core golf course, parallel fairways. Unfortunately for us, or fortunately for us, how you look at our parallel fairways with parallel villas and condos. So we have a plan in place. We've worked with the local residents, all the rental companies, and they understand. And if they happen to entertain in the back, that's up to them, but we certainly are not encouraging it, and we're certainly encouraging social distancing, and we're doing the right thing at this time.
Well, Steve, I know you're familiar with the term found money. This is a found opportunity. It's a great thing for the community, despite the fact that you can't have fans on the golf course. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for all your support.
Okay, the RBC Heritage Tournament history contested at Harbour Town Golf Links every year, starting in 1969. The 2020 event will be just the second edition since 1983 to not be held the week after the Masters. The last four champions were first-time PGA Tour winners. Golf Central is back in 30 seconds.
When will you be done? When you can break 90 or 80? Or when you can finally carry that one lousy bunker? Or when you win your first major? Or after your fourth? Or 15th? If there's ever a time when getting better doesn't matter anymore, just say when. Until then, we're going to do everything we possibly can to help make you a better golfer. So, when will you be done?
Never. Never.
Yep, us too.
All right, Tripp, this week, Colonial's great.
Yeah.
And Harbour Town, again, quaint, cozy. You did a great job last week showing us some holes that visually are going to look different in the absence of stands and corporate hospitality. Give me a couple this week.
Well, and it's kind of the same focus. I mean, we go from one classic golf course to another. Not a big ballpark by any imagination, but some of the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. And in fact, averaging just 3,700 square feet. The greens here at Harbour Town. The ninth hole is a great example. A very, very claustrophobic hole, if you will, and a tiny, tiny green that normally has stands around it, so it gives you a little bit of depth perception as far as hitting into that tiny green. I expect guys to be a little more aggressive and try to get closer to this green than they normally would to maybe combat that just a touch. But again, we've seen a number of players over the years at just 332 yards try to get it up, in that front bunker or that area, because a distance wedge is very, very difficult. And of course, one of the most famous holes along Calabogie Sound here, and this little isthmus of land that sticks out here that really handicaps the longer hitters. It makes them lay back. They're all in the same area, but this tiny, tiny green, and the one thing you really don't want to do is go over this green. And typically when you don't have framing, like the stands around and kind of over to the right, you tend to maybe go a little long or err in that because you definitely don't want to be short because of the penalty area and, of course, the bunker. So it's those type holes where the stands typically give depth perception and errant shots that might go into further areas. Now they are stopped, and you get drops from the temporary immovable obstructions. Things like that. It's a new frontier. But you know what, Gary? Fans, no fans, we got golf back.
We do. And you were spot on last week. You detailed the ninth hole at Colonial.
Yeah.
There were countless balls that went over that green throughout the week. All right, the PGA Tour heats up. Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas, Gary Woodland, and more. Harbour Town for the RBC Heritage Thursday, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on Golf.